Every second, your senses are bombarded with 11 million bits of information. This torrent of data is equivalent to the content of 2 thick novels. Yet, from this ocean of information, no more than 50 bits reach your conscious awareness, roughly the equivalent of 1 short word. 99.999% of physical reality is filtered out before you even have a chance to perceive it. Your brain isn't a camera passively recording the world. It's more like a Hollywood editor. It ruthlessly cuts vast swaths of material, splices together the remaining frames, and overlays color correction based on your beliefs. The problem is you watch this film thinking it's a live broadcast. This film is your subjective reality. If it's a product of editing, then who or what is the director? By what rules does this selection occur? And most importantly, can you gain access to the editing room and become a co-director of your own life? 2 paradoxes will illustrate just how deep this rabbit hole goes. First, why are shoppers offered 24 kinds of jam 10 times less likely to make a purchase than those with only 6 options? How does an increase in freedom of choice paralyze freedom of action? This paralysis works like a crowd trying to squeeze through a narrow door. When there are few options, everyone passes quickly. When there are many, they create a bottleneck. The answer to this paradox awaits you in Section 5. The second question is even deeper. How could the brain, whose primary goal is survival, create a mechanism that filters out 99% of reality? Why did evolution favor simulation over accuracy? The full unveiling of this mechanism will be in the culmination Section 8. These aren't rhetorical questions. They point to hidden mechanisms that either control you or that you control. By the end of this video, you will have an arsenal. 7 scientifically proven tools for managing your perception. This isn't philosophy, it's practical neuroscience. You will transition from being a victim of circumstances to becoming the architect of your own experience. From automatic reaction to conscious choice. The ultimate goal, the conscious choice protocol. This is a new operating system for your consciousness that we will integrate at the end. In just 3 minutes, you'll discover why your brain doesn't actually see the world, but rather creates a controlled hallucination based on its predictions. Your brain is locked in the complete darkness of your skull. It has never seen light or heard sound. It receives only cascades of electrochemical impulses. How does a convincing reality emerge from this chaos? It doesn't see it, it predicts it. Imagine a locksmith in a dark room. He doesn't see the lock, but takes a key from his ring, drawing on his past experience, and tries it. What you feel isn't the lock itself, but a sense of how well the key fits. If 99% of data is filtered, then 99% of your experience is an internal simulation. Moments when the key doesn't turn are what neuroscientists call prediction errors. These aren't malfunctions. They are surprise, humor, insight, points where reality breaks through your expectations. But what makes the brain choose one key over another? You cannot force yourself to unsee an optical illusion, even knowing its secret. Why? Because predictions operate at an unconscious level, twice as fast as you can blink. The brain forms a judgmental assessment of a person in 170 milliseconds. This is an evolutionary energy-saving mechanism. Instead of analyzing the world from scratch, it simply loads a ready-made model. In a familiar environment, this makes you efficient. But in social reality, this same mechanism builds a prison. It makes you see in people what you expect to see, to label them, to ignore facts. You react not to the person, but to your internal simulation of that person. We are trapped in a prison of automatic predictions, and the blueprints of this prison are the architecture of our beliefs. This architecture governs not only thoughts, but also the body. The paradox. Why do placebo pills work even when the patient knows they are taking a sugar pill? Because the unconscious brain predicts relief from the very ritual of taking medicine. This prediction triggers real biochemistry, the production of endorphins and dopamine. In clinical trials, up to 40% of patients report pain relief from placebos. But this power has a dark side, the nocebo effect. Negative predictions, for example, from reading a list of side effects, cause real, measurable symptoms. Your predictions are not ephemeral thoughts, but physical instructions for your body. What if these instructions are literally encoded in the structure of your brain? Exactly. We don't see the world, we see our predictions about it. These predictions create our emotions and govern our biochemistry. But where do they come from? Who writes the script? The obvious answer: our past experiences, culture, upbringing. All of this forms our model of the world. But here's what research reveals. 95% of these beliefs are unconscious. They function like an operating system. You use the interface, your conscious thoughts, without seeing the thousands of background processes that determine everything. Your 5% of conscious beliefs are the leaves on a tree. The 95% of unconscious beliefs are the gigantic root system underground that nourishes the entire tree. In the next section, we will become system administrators and learn how to find these invisible programs. In 2005, scientists working with epilepsy patients made a discovery that sounds like science fiction. By implanting electrodes in the brain, they could literally hear the crackle of the same neuron every time they showed a person a photograph of Jennifer Aniston. This isn't just an abstract thought, it's a physical address. Everything you know, from the concept of an apple to the idea of justice, is a specific, existing neural network. Your belief is not what you think, but what your brain is at a structural level. Activating one such network, for example, failure, instantly triggers a cascade of associated predictions. Shame, fear, memories of past setbacks. This is the invisible program. This raises a frightening question. If our beliefs are physical structures, does that mean we are forever limited by them? This idea, biological determinism, long sounded like a life sentence. To understand how this works, imagine an experiment with fleas. Place them in a jar and cover it with a lid. Very soon, they will learn to jump precisely to the level of the lid to avoid hitting it. Now, remove the lid. The fleas won't jump out. They will continue to jump exactly to the level where the ceiling used to be. Their belief became part of their biology. The limitation became internal. We are those same fleas. Past failures and criticism create invisible lids in our lives. We stop asking for raises or starting new projects because our belief architecture tells us there's a ceiling there. This explains why up to 80% of New Year's resolutions fail by February. The conscious desire to jump out encounters the unconscious lid of old habits. This is biological determinism in action. But what if the brain has a mechanism that allows it to destroy old neural connections and build new ones? Now, for a quick test. Finish the phrase, money is... Don't think. What word first came to mind? Freedom, evil, security, problems? This first automatic association is the result of a powerful, unconscious program. It's not just an opinion. It's a neural network that instantly delivered a ready-made prediction. Now look at the scale. This one program determines how you negotiate your salary, how you spend, how much stress you experience over finances. It's the filter through which you see all financial reality. Your first association is one of 3 to 5 dominant programs that control 90% of your financial decisions. The most disturbing thing is that most of these programs we did not choose. But science has proven that we can initiate their reinstallation at any age. So, our beliefs are physical programs in the brain. They form our predictions, and predictions form our reality. At first glance, this sounds absolutely hopeless. This notion of rigid programming is the essence of biological determinism, a scientific dogma for almost the entire 20th century, which asserted that the adult human brain is static. But one scientific discovery, initially ignored because it didn't fit this picture, completely shattered this dogma. It became a revolution in understanding human potential, comparable to the discovery of DNA, and this discovery is called neuroplasticity. It is the scientific proof that you can become the programmer of your brain, not just its user. In the next section, we will examine exactly how this rewiring mechanism works. The old dogma collapsed when scientists realized that every thought physically rewires the brain. This is Donald Hebb's law, elegant and ruthless. Neurons that fire together wire together. Every time you worry, you're not just thinking, you are deepening the neural channel of anxiety. Every thought is a drop of water. The more often it flows along one route, the deeper the channel becomes, and the harder it is for the water to turn aside. But here's the twist. This law is absolutely neutral. Neuroplasticity works with equal diligence to lay highways for procrastination and carve out paths for confidence. It doesn't distinguish between a useful habit and a destructive one. It simply makes whatever you repeat more efficient. This is not a gift. It's a law of nature, like gravity. The question isn't how to turn it on, but how to direct it consciously. To see this power in action, look at the brains of London taxi drivers. To get their license, they must memorize a map with 25,000 streets. Brain scans before and after this ordeal showed that their posterior hippocampus, responsible for spatial memory, physically enlarged. The volume of gray matter grew by an average of 7%, a difference comparable to the muscle mass of an athlete versus an office worker. But there was another, lesser-known fact. The increase in the posterior hippocampus occurred at the expense of a decrease in the anterior. The brain reallocated resources based on the use it or lose it principle. It's always a compromise. Every task you focus on, and every one you ignore, leaves a physical trace. This principle also applies to emotions. Studies of meditating monks show abnormally high activity of gamma waves associated with well-being. This is the result of tens of thousands of hours of training. They have literally pumped up neural networks of happiness. But why then is the attempt to just think positive doomed to fail for most people? Due to an evolutionary predisposition to seek out threats, our brain has a built-in negative bias. To neutralize the effect of one negative thought, it takes, on average, 5 positive ones. Fighting this head-on is like trying to cross a highway on a bicycle. But we don't need to join a monastery. Cognitive psychology has discovered shortcuts, techniques that don't fight old neural networks but create new, more efficient routes. So, how can we apply neuroplasticity not over 10,000 hours, but here and now, in a moment of stress? The key is not to change the event, but to change the frame through which you view it. Here's how it works at the brain level. It reacts not to the event itself, but to your prediction about the meaning of that event. Losing a job isn't just a fact, it's a prediction of threat. Public speaking is a prediction of social judgment. That's why, by changing the prediction about the meaning, for example, from threat to opportunity, you instantly change your biochemical reaction. In the next section, we'll break down a 3-step protocol that allows you to turn any problem into a resource in 60 seconds. Why is public speaking a panic attack for one person, but a source of drive for another? The event is the same, but there are 2 subjective realities. The difference is not in the event, but in the frame the brain uses for prediction. The threat of failure frame triggers cortisol. The chance to shine frame triggers adrenaline and dopamine. But here's what's often overlooked. Reframing isn't blind think positive, but an algorithm. Step 1. Name the emotion. Step 2. Identify the automatic thought. Step 3, the crucial one, ask, how else can I look at this? It's like changing the water temperature in the shower. The fact that there's water doesn't change, but your physiological reaction changes completely. You're not replacing one reality with another. You're developing the ability to see multiple realities and choose the most useful one. In 1892, a Chicago salesman named William Wrigley Jr. couldn't sell his soap. To boost demand, he gave away chewing gum with every purchase. Soon, he noticed customers wanted the free gift, not the main product. Instead of the frame, "Our soap is a failure," Wrigley applied another. "We are incredibly successful distributors of a popular product called chewing gum." He shifted his focus from what wasn't working to what was. He changed the frame of his entire business. This story proves reframing is not self-deception, but a strategic choice of focus. This same skill will help us unravel the paradox we posed at the very beginning. It's time to close the first loop. Remember the question: why do 24 kinds of jam sell 10 times worse than 6? The answer lies in unconscious reframing. Consciously, you see a celebration of opportunities. But at an unconscious level, the brain instantly changes the frame. It perceives the situation not as an opportunity, but as a complex analytical task, with a high risk of making a suboptimal choice. This frame triggers a program to avoid cognitive load. The cognitive load is so great that shoppers' cortisol levels rise, turning shopping into a biological threat. This program is called analysis paralysis. It's easier not to choose at all than to choose wrong. Freedom of choice transforms into its opposite. Reframing is the path where thought changes action. But what if old beliefs are so strong that simply thinking differently doesn't work? Is there a reverse path? Traditionally, we believe that first beliefs must change and then behavior will follow. But there is a way to make the brain itself want to change a belief. To do this, you need to create an unbearable condition for it. A sharp internal conflict between what it knows and what it does. This phenomenon, first described by Leon Festinger in 1959, is called cognitive dissonance. In the next section, we will discuss how to use this bug of the psyche as the most powerful tool for rapid self-transformation. Why do people who have made an obviously unsuccessful, expensive purchase fiercely defend their choice? The brain hates internal conflict. The action, "I spent a lot of money on junk," contradicts the self-perception, "I'm a smart and rational person." This conflict, this dissonance, causes physical discomfort. The brain has two paths: change the action, which is impossible, or change the belief. It chooses the less energy-intensive option. This is actually a brilliant thing with hidden virtues. This mechanism makes us stay in jobs we dislike for years. The brain justifies the effort invested by changing the belief from "this is bad for me" to "there are some advantages here." But this bug can be turned 180 degrees. How did scientists prove that by paying a person just $1, you can make them believe their own lie? In 1959, psychologist Leon Festinger conducted an experiment. Students spent an hour performing an unbearably boring task, moving 12 wooden spools. Then they were asked to lie to the next participant, saying the task was interesting. One group was offered $20 for lying, a huge amount at the time. The other was offered just $1. Logic suggests that those who received $20 would believe their own lie. They had an external justification. But the results shattered this logic. It was precisely those who received $1 who sincerely believed the task was interesting. Their brain faced an irresolvable conflict. I am an honest person, but I lied for almost nothing. There was no external justification. The only way out was to change their internal reality. Perhaps the task really wasn't that boring. This is scientific proof of the principle: act first, then believe. How does this work for you right now? You have a belief, I am a lazy person, and a desire, I want to be in shape. To reduce the discomfort of this conflict, the brain either devalues the goal, exercise isn't that important, or reinforces the belief, I just don't have the ability. But there's a counterintuitive move. Don't fight the belief. Create even greater dissonance through a micro-action. Do 3 squats right now. This action is too trivial not to do, but it creates a sharp conflict with the belief, I am lazy. The brain has no external justification. The only conclusion it can draw is, perhaps I am not 100% lazy. Every such action is a small key turning the enormous, rusty lock of an old belief. We've discussed reframing for changing perception and cognitive dissonance for changing beliefs. But where is the limit of this influence? The fundamental idea of Western medicine is a clear separation: mind and body, psychology and physiology. But a phenomenon that for decades was considered statistical noise because it didn't fit this picture turned out not to be an error, but the most convincing proof of the mind's power over matter: the placebo effect. Your expectation can trigger a biochemical cascade in the body comparable in strength to that of powerful medications. In painkiller studies, up to 55% of the effectiveness was reproduced using a placebo. We have reached the final argument. In the next section, we will examine scientifically confirmed cases where belief alone reversed deadly diseases. In 1950, Mr. Wright was dying of lymphosarcoma. Tumors the size of oranges were choking him. Doctors gave him days to live. He heard about a new miracle drug, Krebiosine, and begged for an injection. The doctor, psychologist Bruno Klopfer, considered the drug useless but relented. A few days later, Wright's tumors had shrunk by half. He was flying his plane again. His faith had been rewarded. But reality hit 2 months later. Scientific reports proved Krebiosine was a sham. Wright's faith collapsed. His prediction shifted from I am healing to I was deceived. The cancer returned at the same speed it had receded. Then, Klopfer embarked on a desperate experiment. He told Wright he had received a super pure double dose that was sure to work. He injected him with sterile water. The tumors vanished again. It wasn't chemistry at work, but exclusively belief. This same mechanism works in reverse, the nocebo effect. A negative expectation, a prediction of harm, triggers the body's real biochemistry of illness. It is interpreted by the brain as a threat, causing the release of stress hormones, cortisol, and adrenaline. These suppress the immune system and cause physical symptoms. Constant anxious thoughts about health, reading medical forums, catastrophizing minor ailments. This is a continuous intake of mental nocebo. For the body, a negative expectation is like the command, prepare for impact. Even if there is no impact, all muscles tense, and the body expends real resources fighting a non-existent threat. Every thought you have is not an abstraction, but a concrete biochemical instruction for your body. We have assembled all the pieces of the puzzle, the predictive brain as the foundation, the architecture of beliefs and neuroplasticity as levers of influence, reframing for changing perception, cognitive dissonance for changing beliefs, and the power of placebo as the final proof of the mind's might. At first glance, it might seem that now it's enough to simply believe in the best. This is a dangerous misconception. Without a clear structure, this knowledge remains fragmented facts, not a working tool. A step-by-step algorithm is needed that unites all of this into a single process for application in moments of automatic reaction. That is why the culmination of our investigation will be the final conscious choice protocol. This is not just another technique. It is a practical guide for transitioning from a slave of your predictions to an architect of your life. In the next, culminating section, we will reveal it step by step. Here is the answer to the main question we posed at the very beginning. Why does the brain, evolved for survival, prefer simulation over accuracy? Because it is 1,000 times more energetically efficient. Analyzing 11 million bits of information every second is like running a supercomputer that consumes 20% of the body's total energy. But loading a ready-made prediction is the work of a calculator, requiring less than 1%. This is a mechanism for survival, not for seeking truth. But giving up this reality is not retreating into fantasies. It's gaining administrator rights to consciously edit it. Here is the protocol. Step 1. Detection. Notice your automatic reaction. Step 2. Pause. Create a 1-second gap between stimulus and reaction. This pause acts like a dam on a river of thoughts. It creates a calm lake where you can discern what the current carries. But how do you create a pause if the reaction happens in milliseconds? You catch a thought flying at the speed of light through the practice of mindfulness. This isn't esotericism, but a scientifically proven attention training that allows you to see an emotion as an external object, not as a part of yourself. This is the creation of the gap. Once the pause is created, the next step is needed to avoid sliding back into automaticity. Step 3. Investigation. Ask yourself, what unconscious prediction caused this reaction? This is a direct application of the skill of detecting invisible programs, and only after this analysis are you ready for the quickest tool. Step 4. Reframing. Consciously find an alternative frame. This isn't a failure, it's data collection. This isn't a threat, it's a task. You are changing not the event, but the neural pathway that energy will take. But for this to become a new reality, the brain requires physical confirmation. The brain doesn't believe words, it believes actions. That's why many understand everything, but nothing changes. Protocol. Step 5. Action. Immediately perform a micro-action that aligns with the new frame. If the frame is, I am getting healthier, drink a glass of water. This is a direct use of cognitive dissonance, and this is the most challenging stage. Old neural pathways will offer maximum resistance. The brain will scream that it's false and stupid. This is the gravity of old habits pulling you down. The new action is a short, powerful burst of engines for takeoff. Overcoming this resistance is the real rewiring. But there's a final step that amplifies this signal many times over, using the most powerful mechanism of all. This final element transforms effort into a self-sustaining system. Step 6. Reinforcement through expectation. After the micro-action, focus for 15 seconds on the expected positive outcome. This is the deliberate creation of a placebo effect for a new habit. You are programming the brain to receive a reward. And step 7. Repetition. Each time you go through this cycle, you physically strengthen the new neural network and weaken the old one. You build up the myelin sheath, which increases signal transmission speed up to 100 times. This transforms conscious effort into a new automaticity. This protocol is not an exercise. It's a new operating system for your consciousness. You have been given the tool. Now the question isn't how, but who are you? In the final section, you will make your choice. Our investigation began with a shocking fact. 99.999% of reality is filtered out. We understood that we live inside a product created by the predictive brain. This knowledge shattered our basic trust in our own perception. But this simulation isn't chaotic. It's built on a solid foundation, the architecture of our beliefs. We found the blueprints of the building we live in and realized they are based on old, often external, ideas. We transitioned from being a hostage of illusion to someone who found the blueprints of the building they're trapped in. But can the building itself be rebuilt? We received scientific permission to rebuild neuroplasticity. This is irrefutable proof that we can be the architects of our own brain. This was the transition from knowing the blueprints to being able to change them. For this reconstruction, we received 3 main tools. First, reframing, a scalpel for instantly changing emotional perception. Second, more powerful, cognitive dissonance, a leverage tool for changing deep-seated beliefs through simple actions. Which of these 2 tools, reframing or dissonance, seems most applicable in your life right now? Any lingering doubts about the power of consciousness vanished when we saw the placebo effect, which blurs the line between mind and body. It proved our internal states have direct physical consequences. The ultimate conscious choice protocol is not a 7th tool. It's the assembly instructions for all 6, which turns theory into practice. The confrontation between the constructor of reality and the passive observer is not a philosophical debate. After all we've learned, it's a daily, minute-by-minute choice that each of us makes. The knowledge has been acquired, the protocol given. But the main question remains open. What choice will you make personally? After everything you've learned, after all the evidence and tools you've received, who do you choose to be? There are 2 options. The first, the observer. Someone who believes that reality is mostly objective and difficult to influence. The second, the architect. Someone who accepts responsibility for their subjective reality and is willing to work on creating it. Write just 1 word in the comments that reflects your choice, architect or observer. Your public choice is the first action that creates cognitive dissonance with the old, passive position. This choice will determine the stance from which you begin tomorrow.